Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS. In the last episode, Rimi Sakihata went to the heart of the Nozomi Group's headquarters to confront the mastermind himself, Genichi, the man who wrought the terrible device known as Noah 2, and the man holding Nanami Nishijo hostage. Unfortunately, though Rimi had hoped to bring Nanami out of the confrontation between herself and Genichi, the twisted head of the Nozomi conglomerate had other ideas, using Noah 2 not only to manipulate Nanami into believing that Rimi herself was the one who had stolen the bangle she had received from Takumi way back when, but also to forcibly awaken Nanami's own gigalomaniac abilities as well, bringing Noah 2 one step closer to completion and absolute omnipotence. Meanwhile, Takumi Nishijo, the one remaining gigalomaniac who has yet to awaken to his D-sword, is lying here miserably broken and depressed, speaking forlornly to, or listening forlornly to, what can now only be described as a delusion of Nanami Nishijo. Nanami was crying, even while she hung her head and fought to withstand it. Tears kept falling from her bitterly. I took a single glance at her, then soon returned to my line of sight to the ceiling, resuming the task of counting up the rusty spots. Takumi truly has given up on life, on hope, and of course on his own sister. There is no way in any way that Takumi would do anything anymore, it seems.
僕には何もできないよ。僕は妄想の存在なんだから。妄想の。
そんなこと言わないでよ。お兄が妄想のはずないじゃん。だってナナは小さい頃のお兄のこと知ってるもん。いつもナナに世話かけさせてちっとも頼りにならないけど、でもお兄は昔からずっとナナと一緒だったよ。
I see. It was as Nanami said. I remembered the time when Nanami was still small. I had memories of my childhood. I remember being unable to go on a field trip in elementary school and watching stuff on TV about the accident my classmate's bus had gotten into. I remembered Mr. Saito, my homeroom teacher, who had died then too. The words of Rimi, someone who was totally unrelated to me, or the words of my sister, who had been raised with me since we were little. Wasn't it beyond obvious which I ought to believe in? On one hand, I would say yes. On the other hand, to discount Rimi is actually to fall into another pit trap. Because unfortunately she is right. You are a delusionary existence of the real Takumi Nishijo. Your memories that you remember so fondly are those of him. But right now, Takumi doesn't care. Rimi wasn't the one in the right. Nanami was the one in the right. If Nanami was the real thing, then so was I.
Nanami.
I extended my hands towards Nanami. Nanami's existence was now my sole hope. Hers was the only existence that could deliver me. Even though you so cruelly abandoned her not once but several times, including on top of the O-front building. After unwittingly dealing with Count Darth Spider, now revealed to be Detective Sewer.
助けてナナミ助けて
Little do you realize this, Takumi Nishijo, but it has to be the other way round. She cannot save you if you do not save her. If Nanami's warmth were real, I could prove I was myself. The forlornly weeping Nanami wiped her tears, looked at me with reddened eyes, put on a tearful smile.
抱きしめてくれる
I nodded, over and over. If it would bring Nanami salvation, if it would bring me salvation, I would embrace this cheeky little sister happily. Any time, I would embrace her, the only one in this world, my sister who shared the same blood as me.
ナナミ助けて
Wanting to feel her warmth as soon as possible, I slowly circled my arms around the body that came leaping toward my chest. Tighter, tighter. I was about to hold her.
お兄
Just before then, Nanami's body became enveloped in pale light, broke down into an infinite number of tiny blue particles, and the particles burst into the air one after the other, like bubbles. And my outstretched hands embraced nothing. There was no warmth against my chest. Before my eyes, Nanami was annihilated. In other words, this Nanami was a delusion, and the real Nanami is being held captive by Genichi Narose at Nozomi headquarters. Nanami Nishijo held tight the D-sword born from her own blood, using her left hand alone. She only laid her right wrist against it. The blood dripping from the bandage on her wrist slid slowly down the gutter formed by her sword.
痛い知ってたのナナちゃんがギガロマニアックスだって
I think it's safe to say he did. Rimi's question was aimed at Narose, who feigned being a mere bystander. No matter how much he glared at him, his face remained cool.
偶然の産物というものですよ。
Boon of happenstance indeed.
ナナちゃんにひどいことしたくせに何が偶然なの
君の時のような苦労はしませんでした。我が社にはすでに覚醒させるためのマニュアルが確立していますから。もっとも西条匠にだけはそのマニュアルも通用しませんが、イレギュラーな化け物は扱いづらいことこの上ない。
So Gunishi knows all about Takumi Nishijo. That is to say, both the real and the fake.
化け物だなんて言わないで
君も化け物だからですか？
そういう話はしてない
虚無から生まれたものだからと言い換えた方が良かったですね。
I'm hesitant to ask what Genichi means by those words. But I think Rimi knows that all too well. Rimi averted her eyes and bit her lip in vexation. Her trembling still wouldn't stop. In spite of her thinking she had to save Nanami, her feet remained rooted to the floor and wouldn't move for her. Narose, on the other hand, was the very picture of calm as he appreciatively caressed Nanami on the head. Appreciatively, my left foot. Nanami didn't show any reaction. Face lowered, she repeated her shallow breaths.
闇のある一点だけを灯しているスポットライト。その周囲には無数の死体が転がっているのでしょうが、誰にも見えない。
そんな話やめて。
例えば君が自殺をしたら、スポットライトは数十センチ横にずれて君を闇で覆ってくれるでしょう。そして何も知らない別の誰かが代わりにスポットライトを浴びる。
At Rimi's sharp voice, Narose shrugged his shoulders and held his peace.
痛い。ナナちゃんを解放してほしいんだけど。
拘束は解きましたが、
連れて帰る。
構いませんよ。もう用済みです。
ナナちゃん、帰ろう。その件は消して。だったらバングル返して。返すから。
Rimi knew where Nanami's hand was in safekeeping that day. The night Nanami's hand had been delivered to Takumi's room. After Takumi trembled in humiliation atop the roof of Front and collapsed there, Rimi had retrieved the hand from inside his fridge. All the pieces are finally falling into place. Now Shogun had it. He had preserved it, freezing it so it wouldn't rot. The bangle too was there. Probably should have brought it with you. Nanami's still under the machinations of Narose and Noah too. Nanami's voice, whose words had also sounded like those uttered in delirium, grew more and more savage.
落ち着いて深呼吸して。自分をしっかり持って。
Unfortunately, Nanami is in absolutely no state to maintain a grip on sanity.
一つ聞きますが、
Narose's abrupt interjection. Rimi inwardly clicked her tongue.
西条匠にとっては、君たち二人のうち、どちらがより重要度が高い存在ですか？
Rimi lowered her eyes.
リミさんなんか。
In opposition, Nanami raised her gaze. Light had returned to her once empty eyes. It was so fiery as to be described as deviant. As Rimi hastily tried to brace herself, her body shrank back at the sudden arrival of darkness. It was as though the lights had been cut. Rimi didn't know whether it was something done deliberately or an accident.
負けちゃダメ。
Rimi murmured, as if to encourage herself. Her voice made the air tremble, but it soon melted into the darkness. She noticed she'd stopped hearing that growling sound from Noah too. She hated the dark, because it made her recollect memories of that time. Narose is up to his old tricks. Rimi turned her head. What spread out before her was an endlessly deep darkness. Not a single thing one might call light existed there. Could she see nothing because her surroundings were dark? Or was she not seeing anything because her vision wasn't working? She lost even her sense of up and down. She no longer had understood where she was. Darkness invaded her five senses, and she lost the ability to distinguish her own physical body. Or else it was as though her flesh had transfigured to vapor. As though her consciousness was spilling out of its vessel. Not liking this. The past and present melted together, and her memories began intermingling. When was now? When was the past? A single beam of light shone into a world covered in perfect blackness. In the center of that circular spotlight, Rimi hugged her knees. I'm guessing this is what Genichi was referring to. Rimi looked at this from the midst of the darkness. It was the same as that time. That time. Rimi had possessed nothing. Before she knew it, she was being confined and tortured. Her psychological agony was worse than the physical agony. Hellish days. Days of only enduring it. Days very similar to that of Ayase Kishimoto. Rimi knew nothing of who she had been before then. When and how had they imprisoned her? How long had they been torturing her? Rimi didn't know. She had a feeling it wasn't amnesia. She felt as though the instant she unexpectedly awoke, the consciousness known as herself had been born. Ominous foreshadowing here, ladies and gentlemen. I think the truth about Rimi Sakihata is finally being brought to light. Maybe the personality that resided in this body until then had wanted to escape through the overwhelming hardship and had committed suicide inside her own delusions. And maybe the current Rimi had then been born as a new personality. Maybe there had been many different personalities before her. Maybe even the name Rimi Sakihata was in truth something different each time. To myself, I don't exist. She sensed something moving in the darkness. Rimi stood up and dragged herself towards its presence. When she moved, the spotlight followed her. The real identity of that presence was a dead Rimi, lying down there. Without looking at Rimi, Rimi murmured,
あなたは何番目？私は。
I would say that that was the delusion courtesy of Noah too, and in all fairness, it probably was. But I think there's more to Rimi's past than meets the eye. I think that much like Takumi Nichijou himself, Rimi Sakihata is also a delusionary existence. Rimi's eyeballs twitched wildly. Tears overflowed incessantly from the corners of her eyes. Her D-sword slipped and fell from her hands. Rimi sank down in place with a thump. Like a child, covering her face with her hands, feebly shaking her head. I'm sorry. I didn't last. Nanami watched her expressionlessly. Narose snorted as though it bored him, which is typical. In other words, Rimi is a delusionary existence born of the efforts of Nozomi and Genichi Narose themselves. And meanwhile, Takumi Nichijou was looking around forlornly, the last vestiges of her sanity finally broken. Nanami had disappeared without a trace. She had dissolved into bubbles before my eyes. She hadn't existed as anything of substance.
どこだよ。出てきてよ。いるんだろ。また、いたずらか。隠れてるんだ。やめろよ。
Tears made my sight go fuzzy. No matter how I wiped them, they kept welling up, hot droplets. But even this heat, and even the emotions making me weep, were delusions. Because I myself was a delusion. Nanami had been a delusion. I'd been an idiot for expecting something of her even for a second. My hope had been rapidly shattered.
ねえ、いつ、この妄想って冷めるの。早く冷めてよ。
There have been many delusions, but this right here, however, isn't one of them. I myself didn't really know who I was talking to, but in any case I wanted someone to listen to me, and I didn't care who.
この妄想が覚めたら、僕が本当はイケメンなんだ。そうに決まってる。物分かりのいい妹と優しい姉がいるんだ。
Now that unfortunately is a delusion if ever I've heard one.
かわいい彼女と付き合ってて、その子はリミとかセナみたいな電波女じゃなくて、セーラさんみたいないい子なんだ。
あなたは妄想の存在なんだよ。
Crawling on the floor of my hands and knees, I buried my head in a mountain of garbage and clutched at Seraton. And that is where this episode of Let's Play ChäoS Head is going to end for this moment in time, adventurers, and when we return. Takumi truly, really has reached rock bottom. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.